I have to inform you that today we are in a web streaming. That means that there are people who are following us. Welcome to everybody, and welcome to the new elected President and Secretary General of YES, who are present with us here today. Congratulations for your election, and it will be a pleasure to work together. And we can start today with our agenda. First of all, presentation and adoption of the Declaration on Standing Up for Workers' Rights and Just Transition. Our Vice President, Gabi Bishop, and our S&D colleagues, in coordination with the Croatian delegation, have drafted a joint declaration entitled Standing Up for Workers' Rights and Just Transition. And the text has already been circulated to all of you for today's approval. I think that it's so important. I had yesterday the opportunity to meet with our colleagues from the Social Democratic Party here in Croatia, and we need to insist and to put the focus in our priorities, speaking about something that maybe some people think that it's old-fashioned, no, to speak about the workers' right. But workers' right, it's more necessary than ever in this challenging moment, and for this reason I want to thanks for your work to our Croatian delegation and our colleagues from the EMPL committee. I will give the floor to Gabi Bishop, to our Vice President, to present the declaration, and of course after that, if some of you want to take the floor, we can open an exchange. Gabi, thank you for the work, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and I also wanted to thank our Croatian colleagues for the very good cooperation and also for the ambition to put the workers' right in the center of this meeting here in this beautiful town and area. And if you look at the priorities there, they are really key to improve and to achieve good working conditions. And this is key, and it's one of the key promises of the European project, to improve the working and living conditions, and that we do all the different policies to achieve this. This is why for us the priority on the quality of work and on also a just transition with strong workers' rights is one of the priorities, because we will not manage these transitions if we do it against the workers and don't involve them in this change. And also this means essentially in a crisis where people don't know how to make ends meet at the end of the month. Also when we look here at Croatia, but we can see it all over Europe, we have rising housing prices going through the roof, and at the same time we have often stagnating wages. And this is something which is the basis for people, and we need to address, and we do that. Also, in the area of digitalization, we know with AI at the workplace, if Europe doesn't come up with a solid framework for this, workers will be lost, and also existing workers' rights will be diminished as they already are. We have a lot of precarious work we also need to further address. The same is regards also to have a better balance between our family and parental responsibilities and work, and to give the room here to do that. Fair mobility is another topic that is so essential, because we have free movement. We were always the one to fight for it, but at the same time we have a lot of problems we need to address to make sure that every mobile worker is protected and has the rights, that we have sufficient controls here, that we strengthen ELA, the European Labour Agency, in these terms, that we have an ESPAS, a lot of projects that von der Leyen likes to discuss and use it to decorate. But this resolution is not about just a list what we all want as S&D. This resolution is one message, and it says we are the ones that put the workers in the core of our policies, in the core of Europe, in a time where Commission and everyone is only talking about competitiveness and other things. We are the ones that put the workers in the center, and we see that social democracy is strong in these countries that put workers strong into the focus. And with this, thanks again to everyone. It was a really collective endeavor to do it, to support it here, and thanks to also the Secretariat for all the support here.
Thank you, Gabi. I don't know if some of you want to take the floor. Biljana, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Irače. Dear colleagues, first of all, let me say that I'm very happy that we chose this issue of workers' rights, workers' conditions as a main theme of this meeting. I have to tell you that in the process we were thinking about our motto of this meeting. It's without workers nothing works, but the first version that we were thinking of is coming back to workers. We decided maybe not to go with that because we don't want to remind people, workers, that we in a process forgot about them a little bit. I'm not sure, I'm not talking about every country, but I'm talking about Croatia, and I suppose that there is a similar case in other countries. So this is why I think it's important to put workers in a spotlight because they expect us to do that. In Croatia, the situation is very difficult. Minimum wage is less than 1,000 euros, and for decent life, you need at least 2,000 euros. So people are turning their heads to European Union to help because government is obviously not competent enough, or they don't have ideas how to solve the issue. So this is why it's really important for us to be the voice of those people. I hope in the European Parliament, since we changed this balance, right wing, left wing, that we will be able to deliver in this term at least some of those things that we put in this declaration. But even if we don't, we can always be very vocal about it to show people what we would do if we had a majority. And then, of course, it's the responsible of the voters for the next period, in the next elections, to give support to those who will stand on their side and fight for their interest, not for interest of profit and big players in the market. So in the end, I would just like to thank all those people who were in charge in the Secretariat and in my colleagues who were in charge of this, for us to have this beautiful declaration to adopt. Thank you.
Thank you, Biljana. Estelle?
Thank you, Irače. Very briefly, thank you also to take the initiative for this declaration. It's more than urgent than show that the Socialists and Democrats are really the one to fight for the workers' rights, because we know that even far right say that they are the party of the workers. Even the Liberal Party in my country, by instance, they said they appropriate also the thematic of work. This is why this is very important, not only to remain, but to really put at the heart of our fights for just Europe, for social Europe, the workers' rights. Because also, as Gabi mentioned, now the workers' rights are really under pressure. When I mentioned sometimes, Europe is a big and beautiful market, but our DNA is to have regulation, to balance this market about ethics, about workers' rights, about social protection, about environment. So this is really our DNA, And now we face a vague of deregulation, and this is very, how can I say, very dangerous on that point. We will also have to fight to have really good new regulation, as Gabi mentioned, about high air at the workplace, by psychosocial risk, and to have really quality job roadmap, but act and really directive to protect the worker. And last but not least, we just had a meeting about the future of MFF and the founding of Europe, and this is really important also for us to put the social and the social funding at the heart of this MFF, because if we don't do that, we lose at every point. So thank you very much for this declaration.
Thank you, Estelle. Françoise, Khalfan.
Merci, je vais m'exprimer en français.
Thank you. I'll be speaking French. First of all, thank you to the group. Thank you to Irachi for having put to the very heart of our work this social issue. That's something that really brings us together across our different national cultures. By 2030, 30% of the hours worked could be automated through artificial intelligence. 62% of jobs in the economy are already strongly exposed to artificial intelligence, and 33% might be replaced in the administrative sector, in service provision, but also highly added value jobs as well. Moreover, 50% of workers are going to be asked to re-qualify by 2035, which is the day after tomorrow, really, to cope with these new challenges on the market. Now, on the one hand, there is an opportunity here, a possibility for growth in the European Union, but we know that these benefits are going to fall unfairly amongst the population. And we notice in the imbalances that this will be generated will be disparities. Women only constitute 22% of professionals in artificial intelligence, and the lack of gender equality will hamper their access to development as this evolution goes forward. So my question is quite straightforward. You talk about adaptation for workers to AI, but we also have to pick up on those cast aside, left aside, those who don't have access to training. And when it comes down to it, we'll have to have a better form of mapping for the threats, but also opportunities linked to the work that we do in our different committees. For example, in the Internal Market Committee, which is meant to protect the single market customers and consumers, and the socialists in the European Parliament have to make sure they keep a watching brief on this. We have to come forward with proposals which, through legislation, will help training, but also provide protection in the social sphere, in what's going to happen with competitiveness, changing regional funds as well in the way that they're dispersed, and protect those who are already having difficulty to access digital areas. This lack of digital access will mean they'll be left aside. They'll be left behind in society. And that's the task, I think, that we have to assume when Ms. von der Leyen comes out with these words, which are fairly empty.
Thank you, François. Jean-Marc?
Oui, I'm going to speak in French also. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for the text. I think it's a significant one. I might even go so far as to say that it's one of the most important texts of this mandate for several reasons. I'll try to keep it brief. Firstly, I think we came about as a political grouping as a consequence of capitalism and its imbalance in terms of the way in which labour was organised and the way in which those who possessed the capital were able to throw their weight around and manipulate those who were offering labour. And this was historically the way in which we were working until the 1970s, and what we were doing was trying to play catch up and introduce a form of protection that would allow workers to enjoy some degree of equality and be able to face the employers on more of an equal footing. I think this is a turning point. AI and the algorithms it uses are bringing new pressures to bear on workers. So as socialists, social democrats, representatives of the workers, we have to respond to that new situation with regulation. So in the mid-19th century, we were looking at the way in which labour worked. Then, the way in which workers were exploited, workers were living in poverty in the mid-19th century. So we looked at the dynamics then and responded to those. We're seeing a different paradigm now, but we're seeing unprecedented levels of manipulation of workers in a very similar way, affecting up to half of workers because of these new phenomena. So you may already have thought of this, but I think we need to engage in a major communication exercise as a group in all languages and in all countries, because this is about a key principle. But it has to be applied in a very tangible, pragmatic way to the new reality which is affecting workers.
Kanjal?
Yes, thank you very much to all those who worked on this text. And effectively, workers' rights is in our DNA, and it's more important than ever in a digitalized world. And I'm a shadow rapporteur on this file on AI and algorithmic management at work. And we have a very good draft report from an EPP rapporteur from Poland, which includes a proposal for a directive. But now the rapporteur told us that within EPP there is already opposition. Apparently von der Leyen doesn't want to have regulation, they just want some recommendations. So I think we have to be very hard and strong and say we need legislation on this. We need to support our Vice President Roxana Mințantu, and that she has a strong report from the Parliament to push for legislation, because we need it. And what does it mean, standing up for workers' rights in a digital transition? It just means we have to tell them, we are making sure that nobody will be fired by an algorithm. We are making sure that you're not being constantly controlled 8 hours when you're at work. We are the ones who make sure that you will have a right to disconnect. And this is defending workers' rights in the digital age. We have to be very concrete, tell the consequences, not scare people with AI. We are socialists, we have always been progressive, we're not afraid of technical progress, but we have to regulate it. And therefore also all the attempts to deregulate the AI Act and to see that our tech regulation is maybe too strong and doesn't please the American president and the American industry. No, we have to stand strong, defend these rights and regulate, because in regulating we're protecting the workers and we're protecting also our consumers, and this is what we stand for. And translate it into the everyday life, we make sure that you will not be fired by an algorithm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Victor?
Thank you. Indeed, it's a good paper, and I wanted also as well to congratulate everyone. In the same time, it had been said, but I think we need to reinforce it even more, that we are the movement, the political movement that always defended workers, and we have to send this clear message as often as possible. Because if you go in a factory, and we are going to go in a factory, I understand, tomorrow, and you talk to people, people are scared. They actually believe robots and artificial intelligence could take their jobs. They are also scared that they are not skilled enough. And we ask people to go train themselves, but they don't have the time. We tell people that they should accept the salary that they get, but the salary that they get is not enough for them to buy a house or to take care of their family. In this part of Europe, in Central and Eastern Europe, most of the people of my generation grew up by having 2 or 3 jobs just to survive and to pay the bills. The right wing doesn't care about those people. They only care about the businesses that make huge profits. And when we talk about people, they always say that we actually do not want to create wealth, that we punish the people that generate income, and that we are communists. But defending workers, defending the people that work day and night is not to be communist, is to be social democrat, is to be humane. So I think one of the key elements in this text is the title. We speak about a just transition. I would underline that we should more often speak about a humane approach, but it is also important to speak about the goals and how to reach those goals. And therefore here I think we should not be scared in defending the role that trade unions play. Because what we see, especially in companies that come from the digital sector, is that they don't have any trade unions, that they do whatever is necessary to kill those trade unions. And also, I want to mention that in the EU budget, we have 2 specific lines that exist in the EU budget that support the role of trade unions. And I couldn't figure out whether those financial tools will still exist in the next MFF. It will be good for us to make sure those 2 financial tools that exist in the current MFF will continue to exist in the next one, so trade unions at European level will continue to be supported. Last but not least, I think we should not be scared in being bold, in coming up with new ideas. We hear more and more discussions about a potential universal basic income that will likely be needed with the development of AI. This is something that I think we should also reflect in our group and to see whether we can be ambitious enough in coming up with, I know, some controversial ideas, but nevertheless, the change that AI will bring to the way we work will be huge. I think we have difficulties in estimating the impact, but coming myself from the digital sector, I'm quite aware of the impact it will have in the next coming years. So I think we also need to be prepared for that and to show people that we are there to protect them, while at the same time understanding that technology is needed and we need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Marta?
Thank you, Irache. First of all, of course, I also support the congratulations for all those that developed this work. But there is no but. There is something that I would like also to add. It is of the utmost importance to come back to the issue of work conditions. Biljana said that coming back to workers was not politically correct, but it is true. We need to put working conditions on the center of our political discourse, and if this means that for some time we were away of this concern, we need to assume it and to do to take this decision. But to address the question properly, I think that we also need to talk about economic growth. Otherwise, it will be realistic. Dear colleagues, I read the document and I saw the expression adequate minimum wages. But how can we really support adequate minimum wages if we don't put together in the same sentence the word economic growth? We also need to advocate for that and to put the 2 things together. Besides that, 2 other points. I think that perhaps it will be important also to address the specificities of public employment, because civil servants in several of our member states are decreasing, and it's very difficult to recruit new employers in the healthcare sector, in the education sector. So this will be a concern for the sustainability of our societies and for the public delivery of some important public services. The 3rd point, migration. We cannot address adequately the work issues without talking about migration and the economic model that we are having in our societies. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. Elisabeth?
Danke.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this very ambitious draft resolution. I'm extremely pleased that the topic of employees' rights has remained a focal point of our meeting here. And there's one topic I'd like to address, and that's labour market controls. For me, this constitutes a very important point. Laws are only as good as they can be monitored. And maybe I can give an example to exemplify. In the construction industry, we have an advisory post in the trade unions for the Austrian-Slovene border. Employees and workers from Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia can go there and get advice in their mother tongue. And this morning I was discussing with one of the advisors who works there, and she set out what the current set of problems are. In Austria and in Germany, people have collective bargaining agreements which mean that they're paid the appropriate wage. But in certain circumstances, these are then taken away from them because they have to pay far too much money for accommodation, for all sorts of fees. We've got 14 months' pay, and then 2 of those are removed or taken away. We have different pay slips in Austria, in Germany, but then also in Slovenia or Croatia. These are examples which, when it comes down to it, show quite clearly that we're seeing social and wage dumping that we have to accept is going on in Europe if we don't have an appropriate control system. This system is being funded by the trade unions at the moment, and they're suffering because of that. We would need European solutions to be found to make sure that we have a more efficient set of controls on the labour market.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you all of you for your ideas, your exchange to put the focus in our declaration. As all of you mentioned, this has to be our priority, because if we are not doing, others cannot have any idea to contribute for this social dimension, and I think that it's a great opportunity here in Croatia to adopt our declaration. Then we can do as approval, yeah? Wonderful. And now we will continue with our agenda, and I will invite our guest to take part of to join in our table.